We're now on Daf Lamed Omid Beis, but become after 3 days, and the wine is already getting becoming vinegar. Ein bo mishum gilui, although the snakes are not interested in this wine that's almost totally vinegar. Ein bo mishum yayin nesach, and according to this opinion, it's not yayin nesach because after these 3 days, it's considered chometz and not yayin. And therefore the Xeris Chachamim of Yayin Neset does not apply after 3 days. So it's almost like completely turned into vinegar. However, Nardoi Amri, according to Nardoi, Afilu Basa Tlasa Yomi, Chayshirim Shum Gilu. Even if it's been 3 days since the process of it becoming vinegar has set into motion, and it's almost totally vinegar, nevertheless the snakes will still attract. My time or why? Zimnin mikri v'shas. Because sometimes, if the snake is desperate, he'll even drink this, almost vinegar wine. Tana Rabbanu, we learned in the Brisa, yayin toses ein bo mishum gilu. When the wine is in the process of fermenting, then it's not considered attractive for the snakes. The comment is also how long does it take to get to that stage of fermentation that removes the Isser of Gilui? Shloshi Yom, 3 days. Hashachalayim, which we said was cress, ein bo mishum gilui, b'nei gola nogu ben Isser. Right, in the diaspora they were makpid on it. V'lo amarnel de lesle chala. And what chumrah, this chumrah of the diaspora only applies if there's no vinegar in this mixture. Aval isbu chala migri bahu. But if there's vinegar mixed into it, that antagonizes the snakes. Kutach habavli is kind of mixture. Maybe he tells you on the bottom it was like cheese and wine and stuff. 8. A dip composed of whey. Okay, so that's the the watery liquid of milk and moldy breadcrumbs, and it's as pungent as vinegar, and therefore the snakes are not interested in it. But for Negola, as we said before, the diaspora people were more machmir and nogubo isa. Omar Aminashi, ispe nikure chashin. If you see little holes in the in this kutach, right, this mixture of moldy bread and whey, then you assume that the snake went into that holes and he left his venom over there, and therefore we're not allowed to drink it or eat it. Omar Bar Ashi, Omar Shmuel. By the way, this whole thing about Kutach Pavli is in the 3rd chapter of Masechta Psachim with regard to Tarovas Chometz. Anyway, mi tiftif ein bo mishum gili. If you have a barrel and there's a hole in the barrel and it's and little drips are falling from the barrel into some sort of a utensil, a receptacle, then there's no chashash of a snake and there's no gil. Why? Or Ravashi, who the other tiftif tiftif, because it's constantly dropping, and the snakes are sort of scared off by this dripping. It frightens the snakes. When they took a fig off the tree and you broke the fig off the tree, then at the point where it used to be attached to the tree, it becomes open. That's called a pea. It's like a mouth, an opening. And we don't have to be afraid that the snake went into that hole and he left his venom there. So you could eat the figs. Okay. My wife doesn't let me eat figs anyway, so it's not relevant. She says full of bugs. Anyway, come on, ki haitana, like this price, Rabbi Eliezer Omer, ochel odom anovim ute'enim v'alayla v'enachoshesh, mishum shenemar shom v'soyim Hashem. So when you eat grapes and figs at night, which means you can't even see, whether or not there are openings that maybe the snake went in there and left its venom, and Shomer P'sayim Hashem, we quote a pasuk in Tehillim that we're not required to refrain from engaging in ordinary everyday activities. The Rav Moshe Feinstein, again, he changed his mind, of course, but initially he said smoking is mutter because because it's basic, and it's like when I learned in the Beis Medrash in Yerushalayim at 19, you couldn't see a thing in the Beis Medrash. It was just pure smoke. Anyway, so we're not concerned that if it were light, he would see the evidence of snake contamination, but he can't see it because it's at night. Weiter, Omar Rav Safra, Mishum Rabbi Yeshua de Roma, Shlosha Mini Eres Hain. There are three types of venom, and it depends on the age of the snake. So the more powerful, the younger the snake, the more powerful its venom is. Shel Bachur, right, a young snake. It's so powerful, the venom, that if you put it into a liquid, it will sink down to the bottom. Shel Beinoni, if it's not young but it's not old. Mifafea, somehow it gets to the middle of this liquid and it bubbles over there. Shel Zakein Tzaf, but an old snake, its venom will float to the top. And the reason for that is maybe the common kochush chela. Maybe because the older the snake gets, the weaker it gets, and therefore the venom is, it just doesn't have that power to penetrate into the bottom of the barrel. For Tanya, that's not so. The Brisa says, "Shlosha kol zman shemaskiting v'urvel sesespeh." There are three creatures that God created that the older they get, the stronger they get. Like you and I. No. Eluhein. Dog, nachash, v'chazir. Fish, snake, and a pig. So be aware of the older pigs, because they're very piggish. Anyway, but on the list, we have nachash, which means that nachash, the older they get, the stronger they get. So why is it that the venom floats on the top of the liquid? And the answer is koach sufe hudukam mosif ziari kolish. So ziare is referring to the toxic venom of the snake, and it gets weaker with the advanced age of the snake. However, the strength of the snake is increased with the passage of time. So if you want to know about one of the three creatures that gets stronger with the passage of time as it gets older, it's a snake. But if you want to know about the venom of a snake, whether it gets weaker or weaker, the answer is the older it gets, the weaker it gets. So the Gemara says, Shal Bachur, Shal Keil, Amayil. So why do we have to know this? You're telling me that if it's a young snake, then, what are we giving out prizes here to the younger snakes? Celebrating their birthday? What is it? The Sanya, the answer is, we found in a brisa that Chavish and his Gala, if you opened a barrel and you left it open, 9 people, one after the other, drank from this barrel, they were fine. Nevertheless, the 10th person should not drink from it, and the 10th person drank from this barrel and he died. Omar Rabbi Yirmiyah, Zeu Shokeh. So what happened is that the first 9 people that drank, they only got, little bits and pieces of the venom of the snake that were higher up on the. But by the time they got to the 10th guy, he drank from the bottom of the barrel, and that's where the venom of the young snakes penetrates into the bottom of the barrel, and that's why he died. Now, there are other things that should not be left uncovered. A melon. Again, he doesn't tell you if it's a watermelon. We translate it as watermelon, but anyway. Lo yochal b'menu asiri. Ma'isa shoyev yochlu b'menu tisha v'lo meisu v'yochal asiri umes. So this is all about melons, and apparently the snakes like melons. Be very careful when you eat melons; they should be covered. Omar Rebbe said, Zeu shokeya. Right? Once again, Rebbe's saying that the venom from a very young, powerful snake sank to the bottom, and that's what the 10th person drank. Tanur Rabbanu learned to buy galu, water was left uncovered. Don't throw it out into a public area because it can endanger someone walking barefoot. Venom can collect between his toes and penetrate into his flesh. Whoa. And likewise, you shouldn't, use it to clean the floor of the house. Somebody might go barefoot and so on. You shouldn't use it to knead clay. Clay they made by adding water into the cement. Less venom enters his body through his hands. Oh, I see. He's kneading with a K, kneading, and the venom might seep into his between his fingers into his flesh. You're not allowed to give your own animal to drink and not the animal of your fellow man to drink from uncovered water. By the way, I don't know if you saw, but in amongst the Hasidim, it's common practice that they leave Netilas Yadayim under the bed in a sefel, water, and they cover it. And also the Hasidim are very makbet a lot of these halachas, to make sure that things are covered. He shouldn't wash his hands, his face, and his feet with this uncovered water. According to other people, ain't sirta mutter. Any place in the body where there's an indentation and water can collect there, then you can't wash yourself with uncovered water. Acherim hainu tanakama. What's the difference between acherim tanakama? You could be nayu. Gav hayad v'gav haregel. The top of the hand, the top of the foot, v'ruch mediape, and the cheekbones. Omar mar lo yashkebem lo behem to lo beis chavero. V'tanya, we have a price that says al mashkeu lebehemas atzmo. Price is an absolute head-on collision. It says he's allowed to give his animal to drink from uncovered water. So the Gemara answers, Ki Tanya hi lishunra. In other words, there are no snakes around, and the snake will. Sorry, the snakes are eaten up by the cats, and therefore there's no harm done through the snake because they've already been done away with. No, oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah, so why can't he, if there are cats around that get rid of the snake, so why can't he feed his friend's animal with this water? And the answer is the chavre kochish. Somehow it'll weaken his friend's animal. So Gemara asks the dynamic question. So why is he giving it to his own animal? It'll weaken his animal. Hadar bari. It's even though the animal will get sick from it, but it'll recover. So immediately Gemara asks the chavrinami on the way. So if you're not worried about it, why can't you feed your friend's animals? You have to be careful about your friend. And he may want to sell his animal in the interim, and you'll have caused him a loss because he suffered even a temporary weakness. The three categories of wine with regard to Avoda Zara. So if the wine was definitely poured as a libation to an idol, it's prohibited for all benefits. Metami tumachamur b'kizayis. An olive-sized volume of wine has the same status as a corpse as far as tumah is concerned, which means metame adam v'yochlenu mashke. Stam yenim also by not. But if we don't know that the idol was worshipped with this libation, then the Rabbanan made a gzeira of stam yenom that maybe it was used for a libation. Therefore, it's also by nomitami tumas mashkim b'revius. However, it's only maktame tumas mashkin with a revius. So unlike nesech wine, which was actually used for an offering, the ordinary wine of an idol worship is not tameh. It's like any other beverage which becomes tameh from an outside source, such as a dead sheretz. The wine is then capable of contaminating only food, only ochel umashkim, but not adam and not kelu. Like any other beverage, it is capable of contracting tuma only when it has the volume of a revius. And finally, just to round it all off, so you deposited your wine, kosher wine, in the hands of an idol worshiper. You don't know if he used it for libation. So therefore, it will be machmir as far as shtia is concerned, but will be matir hana. And that's against the Mishnah. Where is this Mishnah? Oh, Mishnah in Dmai. Hamafki peros veitzal ovikol chavim, etc., etc. Okay, so this is where we'll stop for today. So let me wish you a good Shabbos. Thank you very much.